Hi, I'm Jerry Maynard, publisher of the new magazine, The Nashville Voice. We're here to interview our mayor, David Briley of Nashville, Tennessee. I hope you enjoy the interview. Hi, I'm Jerry Maynard, the publisher of the new magazine, The Nashville Voice, which is an urban magazine for those of us who have a voice in the city who may have come here 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or 5 days ago. Our city is growing, and we want to make sure that we have a media outlet that represents all the voices from every corner of Davidson County. And speaking of Davidson County, it's my pleasure to interview my dear friend, the mayor of the greatest city in the nation of Nashville, Tennessee, Mayor David Briley. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Good to see you today.
Thanks for coming into the office today to chat.
I appreciate you. 2007, you had just finished up your term as a council person at large.
Right.
And I thought you were done with politics and that you were going back to practice law and make some money for you and your family. 11 years later, you are mayor of Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up, Jerry. After the election in 2007, when I was unsuccessful running for mayor, I put my shoulder to the wheel and worked as a lawyer for the next 8 years. And it was you never want to lose, right? I certainly didn't want to lose, but it was good for me. Frankly, I had a 3-year-old son, and I got to spend 8 quality years with him, with my primary focus being him and my wife and my law practice. So certainly was an upside to losing, although you don't wish a loss on anybody. And then I got back in as vice mayor in 2015, which I could do part-time and still practice law. And then, as you know, we had some unusual circumstances earlier this year that resulted in my being mayor. And it's certainly a privilege and an honor to be leading the city of Nashville at this moment of prosperity and opportunity. And we're trying to focus the city on making sure that everybody in our community gets a chance to benefit from the tide rising. I know there have been moments in our history where that has not been the case, and we're trying to make this a different moment for our city. You know, Nashville's the region grew by 4.1% in terms of GDP last year. I think it's the 5th highest in the country. Wow. We're also 5th highest in wage growth in the last year, and so more opportunities here than ever before. We have our challenges, our opportunities. I guess we should look at them as opportunities to do better. Public education, we certainly could do a better job on. We've got issues with public safety and with some distrust of the police force we're trying to work through. And I think we're going to make progress on those kind of things, and at the same time, try and pull together the individuals who are maybe not benefiting enough, try and help them find some more opportunities. And one of the things we've done in that context is changing our procurement rules to set specific goals for minority participation in contracting with metro government. We've got a disparity there, and by disparity I mean a difference between the actual number and amount of contracts being awarded and the availability of minority bidders in our community. And it's a multifaceted problem. It's both recruiting people to bid, and it's also how we handle the requirements for bidding in terms of obstacles that are not necessary that prevent bidders from coming forward. So we're working through all of those, and we hope that over time we'll start to see a growth in not only the number of contracts we're awarding, but also the availability generally, because as availability goes up, so will our goal in terms of awarding contracts in Nashville.
Let's talk about Nashville as an international city. And in order for it to be an international city, there has to be a value and recognition and highlighting of the different cultures, the diversity. Tell us about how you see Nashville going for the next 8, 10, 20 years. You're the mayor. I know you had an election coming up in 19, but talk about your vision of this city as a true international city.
Well, if you look at the most recent census data, we're 12% foreign born. That means 12% of the residents of Nashville were born in a different country. And then we have their families. A lot of those individuals have had children here in the U.S. So we're a very much more international community than we've ever been before. And it's not just Latino. We have, I think, the country's largest Kurdish population still,
right,
as a result of immigration after the first Gulf War. Really is when that started. Additionally, we're seeing just a whole lot of immigration from Africa now, from Asia, and becoming much more diverse as a community. Obviously, it creates some challenges for us. That's especially true with the I don't know what the right word is here. I'm trying to be careful.
Okay.
The sentiment in
Okay.
Washington, D.C. right now.
Right.
We need comprehensive immigration reform. It'll help us with our neighbors here in Nashville who might be suffering and fearful these days. So we have an election in November where the state of Tennessee can make a big difference in that regard. I
Right.
hope we end up with a good result in that. But I think if you look at immigrants and refugees generally, you see that they're a net positive in virtually every respect to a community.
Right.
That's especially true on the economic side. We see that refugees are bringing more value on the economic side to every community they end up in. And Nashville has a long history going back to Catholic Charities. It's sort of what initiated it here in terms of being sponsors for refugees and that being consistent with the values of Nashville for a long time.
So Nashville is not the same when I moved here in 1995, and
It is not.
you, of course, grew up here. You have legacy here, with your grandfather being the mayor, and I know that you give a lot of credit to your mom for raising you and your brother and giving you the values that make you who you are today.
That's true.
And so when we talk about Nashville being this international diverse city, something happened recently which MLS soccer stadium was approved, and we know there is one sport that is truly an international sport.
Right.
Wherever you go in the world, someone's playing soccer. How proud are you of your ability to get that passed? And what does it mean to Nashville?
Well, I think if you look at soccer, it is the world's game. When the World Cup happens, more people in the world are focused on that than really anything else. And Nashville's likely to get a game here in 2026.
Wow.
We're one of 20 cities, I think, that's going to end up competing for 12 locations in 2026. And I'm optimistic that we'll get a game here. MLS was important to us for a whole list of reasons. The council had made a commitment back in November to do it, and then MLS had acted based on that commitment. So we needed to follow through on that. But I had made a commitment to the community that if we could get some improvements on the arrangement with the MLS team, we would do it. So we got some rent payment for the 10 acres. We got some commitments from the team to have a wage floor and to put affordable housing into the development there. So there's been some great things that have happened since November, and the council made the right decision in September to move forward.
But Mayor, I got to tell you, you made history. We've never had a community benefits agreement associated with a public-private partnership.
Right.
And I know that was important to you. Please talk about that.
It was important to me that the project reflect the values of the community. And that's what a community benefit agreement is really all about. It's about making sure that the values of the community are addressed in these public-private partnerships. Now, the agreement is between the Stand Up Nashville
Right.
and the private developers.
Right.
And so I couldn't make it happen. In fact, I thought it was a good thing, but it was ultimately up to the developers to make that determination.
That's the lawyer in you.
That's correct. I'm lawyering up on you a little bit there just to make sure you understand.
Right.
Exactly. Although I repeatedly said I didn't think that the council ultimately would approve it without a community benefits agreement, because I thought I heard that sentiment from the council. And so it's a good step forward for the community, and it's going to be a great development there in a part of town that has been subject to a whole lot of debate and discussion in the past few years. And I think it's going to, at the end of the day, a lot of the community's concerns about that particular project are going to end up seeming minor, because I think at the end of the day everybody's going to look back and say that was a good decision.
It does not get lost on me that your grandfather was a leader in the desegregation of Nashville. Now his grandson has an opportunity to make a difference with the recent disparity study. In the past, and I helped sponsor legislation that didn't go far enough, watered down. It was an attempt, it was a good start. But now the grandson of the mayor who desegregated the city now has an opportunity to uplift all women and minority-owned businesses, which then, as you know, is the economic engine of those communities.
Right.
Is it lost on you?
Well, I get in trouble for always turning it back on the community and not taking credit for stuff. And I do think this is really just about the community moving forward.
Okay.
I'm certainly going to push as hard as I can, but this is about our changing community and people seeing the benefits of making sure that everybody gets a chance to move forward. That if everybody has a chance to move forward, we all are going to get further along down the road of success and prosperity. And for too long in Nashville, in Tennessee, in the United States of America, we have not focused enough on bringing everybody along. And so I think that's really what this moment is about our focusing on economic opportunity for everybody in this community, with a sense that it's good for everybody.
Right.
When the entire community has a chance to succeed.
When you're talking about unemployment, and unemployment is a low, and you're talking about wages increasing, but you're also talking about the cost of living here in Nashville skyrocketing. The economic engine for any community is that local business, that new American who opens their own store selling products and goods, or that woman-owned business that decides to take a chance and take the capital and savings and she opens her own business, or the African American that decides, you know what, I'm going to be my own boss. And yet when you feel like that the doors are closed and padlocked on you,
right.
And then the disparity study comes and says we have recommendations to unlock those doors for success. Tell us about what your plans are in order to make sure that door of opportunity is open for everybody here in Nashville.
Well, so when it comes to the disparity study itself, we hired lawyers from Atlanta to come up and take a look at how we were operating. And they've made 10 recommendations to us in terms of how we can ensure higher minority participation in our procurement. And we're going to implement every single one of those, assuming the council will come along with us. We're going to fight and make sure that does happen. And by eliminating barriers to bidding, by setting specific goals for minorities, we think that in the future we'll meet some of the objectives that we have. We'll always have more that we need to do on that front, but we're going to work on that hard. One thing I'm going to disagree with you a little bit about is the sense that the cost of living in Nashville is skyrocketing. And certainly we're not the very low cost city we once were 5 or 10 years ago, and we're becoming much more urban, and the cost of housing is going up. Wages are going up significantly too. And so I'm optimistic that as we add more supply to our housing here in Nashville, which we will do over the coming years, that we'll see housing prices stabilize and wages continue to go up, so that a lot of people who are under economic pressure for housing will see that minimize over the coming years. And in fact, last month we saw the average rent in the core of the city go down. And so we think we're starting to see some progress on that. We saw rents go down at the same time we had 6% year-over-year wage growth in Nashville. So certainly is an issue for us to work on, but I think we're making progress.
Between now and next August of 2019, what do you hope to accomplish?
Well, we're going to focus on the fundamentals between those two dates, and that means that we're going to be looking at public education, trying to make improvements there. We're going to work hard with Dr. Sean Joseph to make sure he has the resources necessary to educate children. We're going to focus on literacy because we've got a very low literacy rate for third graders. When it comes to police, we need to make sure that we're keeping Nashville a safe place. And at the same time, we're going to make some improvements in terms of how we're policing to try and minimize distrust between some of our policed communities and the police themselves. And then finally, we're going to spend every day looking through a lens of equity when we make decisions in this office to make sure that everybody in our city has a chance to take advantage of the prosperity that's going on.
I think that when the mayor leads, people will follow. And I do know that you can't make the private sector do what's right, but I'm hoping that as in other cities, as the mayor, you have a bully pulpit, you have an opportunity to use your position to lead the city, and I hope that the private sector will follow your lead. And I want to thank you so much. One of the things that I like about you when I hear you speak, you talk about how your mom raised 2 boys, which lets everybody know that whether your family is one single parent or 2 parents, or maybe you didn't have a parent that you know, that you can become mayor of one of the greatest cities in the nation.
I've had all kinds of opportunities and privileges. I mean, that is clear. If your grandfather was mayor, that is the case. But the greatest thing I think that I had was a mom who really stuck with me and worked hard and sacrificed for me. And so everybody needs to have somebody like that in their life. And it's up to us to be that person and for the young people who don't have anybody right now.
Mayor, thank you.
Thank you.
This is Jerry Maynard from the Nashville Voice. We hope that you have enjoyed the interview with our mayor, David Briley, my friend, of the greatest city in the nation. Thanks.